Yeah, I brought public input. Yeah. Right. All right. Tom, if we can get a roll call.
Katrina Kindle, Peggy Patton. Here. Renee Nicholson,
Here.
Jane McClintock,
Here.
Melissa Stratton. Here. Tony Allegretti.
Present. I believe we have a quorum. And then we have the agenda. I believe everyone has a copy. If there are any additions or corrections that anyone would like to make? Okay. If we can approve the agenda, I think we can do that by assertion. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. There's none opposed. Any opposed? None, so. Oh, yeah, you gotta push the little button
Yeah.
for the new people.
Yeah, that
If you're
little,
not familiar, there's a little gray button you have to push.
yeah, when the green light comes on, then you're on.
I'm on.
I think everyone approved. I don't think there were any nays, so we'll approve the agenda and we'll move into C, which is introduction of the new members. So we have two new members to the board. Jane McClintock. Jane, if you want to introduce yourself, maybe say a word or two. The mic is yours.
Sure, thank you. My name is Jane McClintock. I'm with some exceptions here and there. I've been a lifelong member of Urbana, or resident of Urbana. I've lived here, I was born here and lived here for many years. I'm really excited to be on the board. I hope that this is, that this board can not only, just achieve the charter of the ordinance, but also bring some public awareness and understanding between the police department and the community. And I hope to help make the experience of the board one that does not feel punitive, but in fact feels like a valued learning opportunity for the police department and the community also. So thank you for having me, and appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Thanks, Jane. We're all happy that you're here, and we welcome you to the board, and hopefully for a very long time. And then Melissa, if you would like to introduce yourself and say a few words if you'd like, no pressure.
Okay, yeah, I'm Melissa Stratton. I am just, excited to be here and, trying to get involved in my community and in the ways that I feel are important. And so that's why I'm here. And I'm happy to be here.
Great. All right, happy to have you as well, Melissa. And I guess, I know Renee was new last time. She's been here this is your second meeting. I've been on the boards, is it third? I'm sorry, third meeting. I've been on the board since 2020, I believe. And Peggy, you've been on the board for?
Since 2022.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
So for everyone that's new, I just encourage you, if you haven't already, read the ordinance, go through it. If you have any questions or suggestions for changes, some of you may have been involved in some of the suggestions already, but again, please review and just become familiar with it. I think that's a good starting point for the meeting or for being on the board. we have a procedures manual as well, which I think is on our shared drive, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, yeah, it should be. Yes.
Yeah, I believe I just reviewed it yesterday.
Yes. Okay. Great.
In general documents.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and if you need access to the shared drive, we can get IT to give you that access information. Okay, it's all okay. Great. Perfect. All right.
That's the link that you sent. Yeah.
Okay, great. Carla, I knew you were on top of it, but just in case. Let's move then to D, which is approval of the previous minutes from October. Those were attached in the packet. Thank you to Tom and Carla for putting together the packet. Is there any additions or corrections?
I have one correction under B, approval of the agenda. It recognizes that Katrina Kendall seconded, but it notes above that she was absent. So I think that was me seconding that.
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
So we'll move to make that correction. I don't believe we need to vote on that, do we? Okay, the amended minutes. Okay. Any other corrections? Okay. Then we can have a vote on the amended minutes as amended this evening. We can vote by assertion or affirmation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries and the minutes are approved from October. We'll then move to public input. I don't believe we have any public input this evening. We'll note one member of the public. She is currently supervised by an adult, if there are questions. So then we'll move to unfinished business. We'll start with the TASER review. I believe we have two members of Urbana Police. We have Deputy Chief and Officer, or Lieutenant Gardner, I'm sorry, and Deputy Cervantes. I'll let you guys take it away.
All right, good evening. I'm really happy to stand before you guys. This is my first meeting, and I look forward to working with everyone going forward. In the future, I will be the one that's heading up our portion. Little background about me: I was a part of the first 6 to carry tasers back in 2015. Since then, I became a taser instructor in charge, along with Sergeant Hurley, with put on the taser training for the department. I've been tased 3 times in the training scenario, so it gives me a kind of a different perspective and can speak on, the effects of the taser. So the taser incident we're reviewing is from 2021. I'm gonna give everyone a brief background of the incident. On February 18th, 2021, Urbana officers responded to a local hotel for a reported domestic incident between father and adult son who had known history of mental illness from prior calls for service. The father reported the son threatened him with a knife and battered him. Officers learned the son had recently been released from a mental health facility and was not taking his medication. Officers observed the son showing signs of agitation and were able to convince him to voluntarily go to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. Also followed to complete an involuntary commitment petition due to the son's risk of harm to others. At the hospital, the son became increasingly agitated, refused medical assessment, yelled racial slurs, advanced toward staff with clenched fists. When the son rushed a sergeant that turned his back to speak with medical staff, officers and the father rushed the room to attempt to restrain him. During the struggle, the son punched a security guard twice. A sergeant deployed the taser, which was ineffective. The son was ultimately secured to a hospital bed and left in the care of medical staff. And like I said, that was a brief synopsis of the incident. We will watch a video and we can, I'm gonna play it all the way through one time, and then we can go back and I want to point out a couple things. All right. Maybe.
X out of it and then hit the button again.
Talk a little louder if you talk shit about me, this bitch ass, phony ass, fuck up, nigga.
Need to cut it up a little bit.
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell. I've been here the last 2 days before, so. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Go stab your little pussy, bitch. Fucking kill yourselves, bitch. Get up! Take him! You don't need to fucking stop! Put him in! Move out the way, son! Get the 7 out. Gordon, please! Calm down! Bitches, stop! Okay, no, they're not! Yeah, they are! All you're gonna do is make it worse, dude! That's all you're doing! Got restraints? Yeah, now you're gonna get skewed!
This was twice as bad. So back up.
You're gonna get tasered, dude. This is gonna hurt.
This one's gonna hurt.
Bad. Now do not do nothing. You hear me?
Okay, in this video, one of the things I want to point out, we have 2 different kinds of tasers in this video. The X2, which we no longer carry. The reason why we stopped carrying the X2, we were having a lot of issues with that regarding clothing disconnect, having to be up closer to get the probe spread. And it just wasn't as great as the next device, which is the Taser 7. Allows us to penetrate thicker clothing as well. And the other part about the Taser 7 is with these models, we can be closer to get the appropriate probe spread to get an effective hit. So before this, he was pacing back and forth, getting very agitated with people that were walking by the room. So they called, the officer on scene called for security personnel for just extra security measures. He began yelling out racial slurs at the security officers outside the room. And I know the volume was low.
Stab your little pussy, bitch. Fucking kill yourselves, bitch.
see his fists are clenched, and it took his father and an officer to hold him down. Okay? So a couple ways that we train our officers to know that you have an ineffective taser shot is when you hear that loud arcing sound, right? When we get a good probe spread, the taser is very silent. So now that you have that audible sound of the taser being very, very loud, you know that you don't have a good probe hit. The other part we look for is change of behavior. We all can see that his behavior didn't change at all, right? So those are the two things we look at and we train on when, if we have a good probe spread and a good connection. Right here is the security guard who got hit in the head, and I believe he got spit on as well.
Wait a minute. Move out the way, son.
So you hear that loud arcing sound. That's how he know he has an
Get the
ineffective
7
hit.
out. Gordon, what are you doing? Calm down. Bitches, the whole thing. What are you talking about? Hey, all you're gonna do is make it worse.
Another thing
dude.
about this room, this is the mental health treatment room. It's very, very small, right? So you can't get a lot of people inside the room. So that was another reason why going to the taser was probably more effective or a good decision, because even if we hit the numbers, the room is so small that you're just stacking on top of each other. And, you know, I appreciate the father being willing to step in and help as well.
That's all you're doing. Got restraints? Yeah, now you're gonna get skewed.
This was twice as bad. So back up.
You're gonna get tasered, dude. It's gonna hurt.
This one's gonna hurt.
Bad. Now do not do nothing. You hear me?
Afterwards, the sergeant realized that one of the probes went into the wall. So, wouldn't be open for questions.
So Lieutenant, so the subject wasn't restrained before, is that right? He was just sitting on the,
Yes,
okay. And the view we had is using the X2, is that?
no, the view that we're watching is from the body cameras.
Right, I'm sorry. But the body cam, that officer has the old model or the?
The old model, the X2, yes.
Well, I think this is not the body camera of the officer who tased. This is the body camera of the officer who's standing in the doorway who turned around.
No, he is
And
the one that tased.
The one that tased, or
Yes.
is it the one who was across the
No,
hall?
he's the one that tased.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The second taser wasn't deployed, is that correct?
No, it was not.
That the other officer was holding?
Yes, it was just displayed.
Okay. There wasn't a weapon here, correct? That was previous to him arriving at the hospital?
Yeah, so he made threats to stab his father.
Okay.
And I believe in the report, he hid the knife, and the father didn't know where the knife was.
I see, okay.
If I remember correctly, but then I've been wrong just before, but my impression was the father said that the father had hid the knife, and he felt that the son could not find it.
Okay, maybe,
But not, it's
Yeah.
minor.
but no, he did not have a knife on him.
Okay. Is there can you discuss what an officer might be thinking here as to why they wouldn't announce that they're gonna tase before they deploy the taser? I'm counting, I think, 3 UPD officers, at least 1 security guard, the father of the subject. The protocol, or at least from 2021, I believe it hasn't changed, is that it's an optional thing for an officer to decide when he's going to announce based on totality of the circumstances, training and experience. There's a number of gray areas here that give an officer a way to decide to or not to announce. Can you discuss why they would have decided not to do that here, or why they would have?
Well, this event was rapidly evolving. The sergeant at the time, he yelled, "Taser, taser, taser." I think showing that he already battered a security guard. What's not shown in this video is him pacing back and forth and constantly, balling up his fist like he was ready to fight. They were able to calm him down to get him to sit back on the bed. I think it's reasonable that he didn't wait to see if he was going to react, given that he was already struggling. I don't think he wanted to wait to see if someone else get hit or punched, or let alone he break loose of his father's grip, and then he has two arms loose to start really, swinging and striking people in a small enclosed room.
Was there a protocol for when someone is restrained in these rooms, if it's a mental health treatment area? Is that
That is
hospital policy?
Yes, that'll be hospital policy.
Okay.
I believe afterwards, the hospital staff decided to restrain them to a bed.
Sorry, the footage here, obviously, it's pretty chaotic what's going on. I was just wondering, for my sake, if we could just watch the last, portion again when things go back into the patient's room.
Talk a little louder. Talk shit about me, bitch ass, phony ass.
Are everyone okay for me playing from the beginning since it's a short video?
Sure.
All right.
Fuck up, nigga.
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell. And I've been here the last 2 days before, so. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Go stab your little pussy, bitch. Fucking kill yourselves, bitch.
That's the person talking.
That's the patient.
Get up! Tase him! Tase him! You don't need to fucking stop!
We even gave a warning arc.
Move out the way, son. Get the 7 out. Gordon, what are you doing? Calm down. Bitches, stop. Okay, no, they are. All you're gonna do is make it worse, dude.
Is that the father speaking?
Yes.
Yeah, now you're gonna get dude.
This was twice as bad. So back up.
You're gonna get taser, dude. This is gonna hurt.
This one's gonna hurt.
Bad. Now do not do nothing. You hear me?
Was there someone in the room with him
At what point?
before?
No one was inside the room with him at that point.
I guess I did have that question, like, what, when the father, probably 5 or 6 minutes before this happened, indicated to the officer that he felt that the son was escalating and, was like, he's getting,
Yes.
getting anxious.
Yes.
Would you be able to comment on, like, what are the officer's options in that moment? To either, obviously, they're at the hospital, and so a lot has to do with the policy of the hospital. But, can the officer request of the hospital that they, seeing a security situation maybe evolving? They had pretty immediately asked for security assistance, but it seemed like they weren't getting quick support. And also,
Yes.
What was the option, the choice between engaging the patient or asking someone to engage them or being in the room with them?
So I understand your question. We can try to talk to medical personnel to speed up things, but as you know, they have other patients. We can make all the requests that we want. They work on their own speed. The sergeant was turning to talk to a medical personnel to try to give them some information and probably try to speed up noticing that he was escalating. I think they did a good job when he was charging, trying to get him calmed down and sitting back on the bed. I don't think at that point, they did a good job of realizing, let's not engage him. We already talked him down. There's no need to kind of force the situation, force the action. We did our part of trying to get more personnel there in the event that it escalated the way it did. I think that's one of the things that they were that was going through their head. I don't think at that point, as he's sitting on the bed, we can ask for medical personnel to put on restraints, because like I said, they have their own policy, and they put on the soft restraints when they want to, when they feel like it's a threat to staff members.
Was he being admitted at this time?
Yes.
So that's why he was in a room without really any
Yes.
personnel attending to him?
Yes. So beforehand, they went in there and tried to get his vitals, and he didn't want to allow them to do so. Another officer was filling out the involuntary petition.
Okay, so this was all just in a matter of minutes of him being brought to the hospital to the 5th floor?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's sort of the surprising thing, is someone who's clearly needed to be involuntarily admitted because of, episodes he recently had, that there was no personnel. I
Right.
don't mean police personnel, but mental health personnel attending to him. But if this was literally
And
within minutes of him being
Right,
admitted,
and I
can
don't
see.
know, maybe they had other
Yeah.
individuals they need to speak with, or maybe they were coming from another location. I'm not sure of what the delay was,
Yeah, so it's just.
but
the
it seemed like
police
it happened pretty quick.
pretty quickly.
The person that is sort of like going after him first, that's his father, right?
Yes,
Okay.
the individual in this blue jacket,
Okay.
yeah, that's his father.
Yeah, so I have one more question. My understanding is that this footage is here with us right now because of the fact that the taser was deployed. So there isn't really another like angle to look at, just because it was like a bit confusing for me watching it and trying to understand like what he was actually doing when the officer was saying tase him. Because I was only able to actually see in this footage him hitting someone one time, and that was after the officer said tase him.
Right. At one point, the officer that went inside the room with the dad, his body camera fell off, so you wasn't really able to see a lot of what was going on.
Okay. So, just because we're not really able to see very well, before the hit with his hand that I'm able to see, and the officer says tase him, he was already hitting people? Okay.
If you see the security officer that was in the corner, he was already holding his head.
Okay.
Was he transported to the hospital by police?
No, by ambulance. One of the things that they used to get him to go voluntary was getting the paramedics to allow his father to ride with them. Because sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes the paramedic don't feel comfortable having a person ride up front with them. And usually we will provide that ride. But it seemed that the father was there calming him down. It was a sticking point to get him to go to the hospital.
And this was communicated, so then the police showed up because the hospital requested it?
No, dad called.
Oh, Dad called, okay. And he informed them that it was a mental health issue?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, because we have several videos of this incident. Do all of those videos show the different angles of what was happening?
No, the one who would have showed the best angle, his body camera fell off right as he was trying to push him back inside the room. Officer Links came in, I'm sorry, the other officer that displayed the taser came in at the end. I believe she was the one that was filling out the petition.
Yeah. Yeah, we had several videos in the file you shared with us, although I have to say, this one was not, where actually the taser was displayed, for some reason was not included in that file, but there were several others back at the motel where the motel staff were talking to the police officers and the medic. And I must say, because I looked at all 2 hours of them, I mean, many, many minutes were spent at the motel talking to the gentleman by your personnel.
Yes.
Trying to, ask how they could be of help, what was going on, what was agitating him, and, for a good half hour or more, he wouldn't say anything, and finally he said, I want my dad here, and they said, well, let's see if we can. But it was clear from the combination of those videos that it wasn't a single incident with the father where a knife was pulled, but it was a series of incidents at the motel.
Yes.
Said, showed damage that was done when he was having episodes, and they said, he can no longer be here. He's become a danger to himself and others.
Yes.
And the father knife incident was just the most recent one.
And it was my decision at the interest of time, with so many videos, I just wanted to show this display, the discharge.
Yeah.
Going forward, if everyone will like longer videos, this is my first one.
Sure.
So if you want me to show longer videos, I can. But I decided that 2 minutes was the best interest of time for the board.
Yeah.
Well, and just for clarity, Melissa, partially because it was so hard for me to find, that there are other videos on the SharePoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we had the hospital room video, but we had all the body camera video.
Yeah.
That seemed relevant. Even the one where it fell on the floor, it
Yeah.
was in the folder. So,
Is this the TASER deployment video?
Yes.
Because I think right after I spoke with you, it was uploaded to the file, I believe, yesterday.
Oh, okay. I didn't look a second time. Okay.
I upload them as I get them.
Gotcha.
Does the department track when the deployments are done regarding if it's a response, the type of response? This is now the second meeting in a row where we've had somebody suffering a mental health episode where a taser's been deployed, and I'm curious if there's any sort of, does the department track any of that information? It was a domestic violence incident or a mental health episode or a, some other type of incident. Do they track that and see if there's patterns?
I don't know about the patterns, but we do track it. Part of the report that we do, they have to fill out a form. It's called a crisis intervention form. When we have these type of incidents and mental health is a part of it, we have them fill out a form as well, along with the report with the charges or the crime code that fits it.
Because it's part of the policy that when they're deploying that a mental health episode is something that should be considered before deploying the taser, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's still in the policy. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure your question, though.
Well, part of the policy for the department in deploying is determining a number of factors before, if a person is pregnant, if a person is suffering a mental health episode, if there's alcohol or drugs involved, if they have reason to believe that they may be a type of person that may suffer have a higher chance of suffering a lethal shock from the taser. And one of those is a mental health, having a mental health diagnosis.
Right. So I would say he was tased because of his behavior, not exactly.
Which was brought on by his mental health issues.
Right.
Okay.
He wouldn't, if everything was,
But he wasn't tased, is that correct?
no,
He
one
didn't actually
probe
get tased.
entered, but since only one probe, no connection was made.
Right.
So he was not tased.
Yeah.
would you consider just speaking of this list of things, I wondered, he seems awfully thin. I mean, he's a tall person, but very thin. And could you speak to the safety provision about the mass of the person?
One of the, in the policy is just
Low body?
low
mass?
body, individual with low body mass. I don't particularly think that quite fits in this situation. But again, it was his behavior. We have to be able to articulate why we used the taser in that situation or in a situation. In the policy, it says, you know, you have to take that in consideration, right? If you have someone who's extremely thin, but they're carrying a knife or wielding a knife, then, you know, I think we can all agree, we can talk to them, the person wouldn't, you know, put down a knife. I think a taser would be appropriate in that situation.
So is the behavior above anything else that an officer is thinking about here? I mean, what, does age come into play?
The behavior and the actions.
So what if a 12-year-old was doing this?
We
They
can,
hit a
what if,
security officer,
I
and they're
understand.
a high-mass person.
right, so if it's a 12-year-old that's 6'5", 350 pounds, I think tasing someone of that size, that's built like an adult male, is appropriate. I mean, we can, what if going back and forth the entire time?
Sure, I mean, we can't
Right.
we can't judge an individual episode. That's outside of the purview of the ordinance, so we have to talk about policy level
Right.
considerations, which
Right.
is,
So it's the totality of the situation, right? If it's a 12-year-old that is maybe 50 pounds, and we can reasonably grab onto them instead of tasing someone, then yes. But if it's a 12-year-old that is wielding a knife, I don't think I will want my officers to try to grab onto someone with a knife. I think a taser would be the best course of action.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had a similar discussion at the last taser display, which was 2 weeks ago, and as Tony said, I mean, I've only been on the board for 3 years, but maybe I've reviewed 20 taser displays, probably not, maybe 15. But these were the only two that were on a, mental health ward of a local hospital, and they were similar in many respects. And the similarities, in my view, was that in both cases, the personnel in the hospital asked for police intervention. I mean, the last week's case was absolutely the case, where their own security guard was no longer able to manage the patient, and they called in police, and and you responded in kind. But the other comment I'd like to make is, I would say 95% of the taser display incidents I have reviewed on my short time on the board is, I would say, I'm not a mental health expert, but all of them were displaying mental health issues if they weren't severe. So I certainly recognize that you have to address the behavior at hand, and when the mental health professionals say, this is beyond our capability, I mean, it's a sad commentary on the state of affairs, and that's a topic that needs exploring for sure.
Yes.
But I also just wanted to address your point. Was it too short or too long? I appreciate as much video footage as you can share in our portal, because then we could spend as much time or not. And I have to say, the background videos that you send help enormously. Last time, there was a half an hour of de-escalation behaviors on the part of the police that wasn't included in the very short unredacted or redacted one that was shown publicly. And to me, that makes a huge amount of difference when you're looking at, what was going on.
Thank you.
And I would say similarly here, the hours of video footage that was shown in the portal of police officers working with the gentleman in his hotel trying to find out, can we get you a counselor? Can we take you here, that, and he said, no, he wanted to, and, he was down to, I'll go to the hospital if my dad comes. But it is distressing that there weren't more specialized personnel to attend to him, and that's, like I say, that's something that we need to work on in this community.
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, is maybe just a matter of jurisdiction between the hospital and the police department is just the contrast between, at the hotel, I would say there was quite an effort to, be present, be sort of strategically placed near him, to talk to him. And at the hospital, there was no effort to talk to him. Even when the father indicated that he felt like the situation was escalating, there's probably 10 to 15 minutes where there's no intervention, either with the police officers telling the hospital staff what the father had told them, or going to intervene with the gentleman. But, I think that and it was clear that they were sort of preparing for a confrontation because they were asking about, have we searched him? I think the hospital staff were asking, have you guys searched him? And the police officers were finding out. And I think some of the, communication and information sharing maybe could have been a little bit more robust because, they had not searched him, but they did have it from the father that he didn't have a weapon. That might have helped the, people to better respond who were responding later and hadn't been involved in the initial contact. And, just chatting with him because it was, we could say it was just a few minutes that they were at the hospital, but I wish I had the timestamp in front of me, but I believe it was at least 10 minutes prior to the father indicating that he felt the son was escalating, and at least 10 minutes after that. It was quite a long time that they were at the hospital.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't make the hospital staff speed up their operation. As also to note, this is, I believe, during COVID time, so who knows what their staffing levels was during that time.
Yeah, no, and there's no knowing about the hospital. There's quite a few nurses that were there attending to the situation, but not interacting with the gentleman. But I think that does not necessarily preclude the opportunity for the police department to either interact or see what the father, who is certainly the expert in this situation, would advise in terms of how they could best support him calming down. Because it sounded like he was sort of having delusions about what was going on in the hallway, and that was becoming sort of increasingly clear, and that it was increasing. As you wonder, again, it's sort of speculative, but what what kind of effort could have been made to avoid that confrontation?
Understood.
Any other comments? I think I just have one more thing. My main concern, and I say this every time we do a TASER review, is the wide breadth of discretion that is given to the officers. I understand they go through a lot of training, they get tased themselves, but it only takes one of these incidents where someone ends up either dead or severely injured from a less lethal tool, where someone is, and the city is going to be compelled to ask or answer questions about the policies and that were in place at the time as to why why wasn't the person advised that they were going to be tased? Why didn't the officer fill out a report stating why he didn't give the order that he was going to be tased? This is from a just from a liability standpoint that I think the department and the city should be concerned, as well as the general citizenry and residents, about these types of incidents that can happen, because they do occur. They have not occurred locally, either in Urbana or Champaign, but we just need lightning to strike out of one of these tasers to cause a serious problem. And I think, unfortunately, that may be when we tighten up these policies that are being left to the company that writes the Urbana policy. But so that's, again, my main concern with is the discretion level. I think it could be tightened up. I don't think it takes that long to announce. I think that would go a long way in protecting both the person involved and the department and the city in general.
I also just want to say, sort of piggybacking off of that, on a personal level, this person, having just come out of a mental health facility, was most likely very scared. And, I don't know, I just put myself in their position, being confused and scared and not really knowing what's going on, perhaps trying to leave because you didn't want to go back, as he stated multiple times, and then being tased. That is a little bit, I don't know. I understand that we have to protect ourselves and other people, but I can just imagine that that was probably a very scary experience for him.
I guess, I'm sorry to speak so much, but I think my main takeaway is that we had 2 taser displays in this video, and neither of them actually initiated the pain compliance, but one of them was effective and one of them wasn't. And the effective one was where it was clearly announced, where plenty of time for the person to understand what was going to happen. That was the taser display that worked. That was the taser display that got him to comply. And so I think we had a very clear kind of visual of what I think the intent of the policy is. Yes, there's a lot of discretion, and I think it would be, I agree that it would be wise to tighten that up. But I think we've seen a very good illustration of how effective it can be, and in fact, more effective. Because the first display, too, it was so quick. There's 2 reasons that you announce. One, to give the person an opportunity and some time to comply. And the other is to not shoot the officers that are right there. And in fact, later on, one of the officers said, "Oh, man, you shot so quickly. I was glad I could get out of the way. I'm glad you announced," because it was so quick. And so I think that this is a good learning tool. You know, I think I can understand that he was concerned. There were a lot of people in the hallway. He felt like he needed to do something quickly. He had his back turned, and so, you know, he was coming in quick. But I think in retrospect, you know, hindsight, always 20/20, we have a really good illustration of why it's so important to make that announcement and how it's so powerful to give that announcement some time, you know, and can really be effective. So thank you for answering all of our questions.
No problem.
Giving me a chance to speak.
I had a little bit to add. One of the things that's important, and I think because we have new board members to consider, is time and distance. And those are all things that we strive for. You guys heard me say this last week, and I don't know if you've watched the previous presentations, but one of the things that we strive for is time and distance, because time and distance equals safety. And that is the most important thing, Mr. Allegretti. I think you asked that question was what priority, and behavior dictates, but the most important thing is priority. So every situation, we have to look at it in that totality of circumstances, and we have to look at what's safe. And to your point in the moment, and I appreciate that, because we do have to act. We can't walk away from certain things. And in this moment, he was being aggressive. He clearly showed that attack portion, and that's what dictated that officer's response. And that officer's response in that moment, because there wasn't time or distance, because he was actively a threat to other people and actively hitting other people, he had to act in that moment right there and make that decision at that time. And I think that distinction is important, because that's what we do when we're called to these situations. We have to take the totality of the circumstances into account, and sometimes we don't have time and distance. And in this case, given the fact that Sergeant Lushin was able to call out taser, taser, he said tasem, tasem, or sorry, tasem, 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 I believe is what he said, because in the moment, adrenaline is high. I mean, you could hear it where Officer Link says, "Back up." Well, the subject was already on the wall. And it's because that adrenaline dump, and we get into this mode where you get tunnel vision and you may say the same thing over, or it's not exactly how you meant it to come out. And that's where training comes in, and training is important. But given the totality of the circumstances in this instance, had we had more time and distance, and that's what we were discussing last week, if you have 2 people where we have time and distance and the ability to talk and give that warning, we do. We have a number of displays where we were showing before, and I've provided the numbers where that is effective. And I agree with you in that a lot of times the display itself is effective when the display is the only thing that's appropriate in that moment. When somebody's actively attacking somebody else, we don't have that time, we don't have that distance, and the appropriate thing in that situation is for us to act. And I think that's what he was trying to do, because we talk about lightning striking, And we've talked about this in the past where there's been situations where deadly force was the other option. And we don't want that to be the option either. So when we look at it, when we're looking at totality of the circumstances as well as the different factors that you brought up, those are the decisions those officers have to make. And to your point, and one of the things that you said was, yes, we are looking at it through the luxury of hindsight, and that's where we have to look at case law. And the courts have ruled time and time again, when it comes to these situations and uses of force, it is viewed through a reasonable officer's eyes, not through the luxury of hindsight. And that's why it's important in these moments. And I totally hear what you're saying about the situations and the training that comes into it where we do have that time. And what I want to impress upon, especially the newer board members, is we strive to do that as much as we can. We strive to de-escalate, as is shown in the last one, as well as this one, by talking to somebody for a long time. And to echo Lieutenant Gardner, we don't dictate hospital policy, but when something happens right in front of us, we have to react, and we don't have the luxury of walking away either. The other thing, one of the things that you said was Lexipol, I believe is that what you're referring to, writing the policy. We also have oversight as a command staff when it comes to reviewing that policy and providing input. And just as I said last time, that gray area that we're talking about is officer discretion, and the ability for them to evaluate a situation is important. And in both of those situations, in the one where I presented before was Lieutenant Gardner, the issue was him not calling out Taser because of tactical advantages. Same thing in the previous one. Those things are things that we have to consider with the officers' training and experience, and safety being the priority. Because what we don't look at, or I think we should look at that we don't talk about enough, is what if they didn't act in that moment? And then what if somebody who's already shown aggressive behavior, violence, were able to do something else? So that lightning strike, that's why it's so important we look at these incidents. We look at them as they're happening in the moment, and yes, we can look at things to improve upon, and we try to do that. But also for context and perspective, that it is very important that we put ourselves or try to, and that's our job, is to give you that police perspective and to provide the case law in the background, and then to take what you guys are saying into consideration, and also provide feedback to you guys about certain things. And so I just wanted to add upon that, and then also welcome Lieutenant Gardner. I think he was just really eager to get in, but I would be happy to answer any further questions for me. And it's been for Mr. Allegretti, Ms. Patton, Ms. Nicholson, and Carla, and Tom, it's been a pleasure working with you as long as I have, and I'm sure I'll still be on the outskirts of things. But welcome to you guys, and I think I know I'm leaving it in good hands because of his experience. One of the things that I know you pointed out before, Mr. Allegretti, was that I hadn't been through Taser training, and you were surprised by that. This is the man. I mean, it's him and Sergeant Hurley. They're the ones that train things. So when he's talking in the specifics about, the more technical aspects of it, this is the guy that you want here doing that stuff, because he can definitely provide some more insight. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Cervantes. I think you bring up something that I think maybe the board can discuss at a later date, but in reviewing the issue with the last Taser regarding the change in policy, I think I'd be interested in hearing, and I think maybe the rest of the board would be interested in hearing, and specifically about the changes that are made to the policy, when that's done, who's alerted to that, because from my brief review of the current policy and what was in place in 2020, I believe at the last Taser review, there were changes, and I'm curious as to how the department goes about doing that. And I don't want to drag out the conversation about that now because it's not on the agenda, but I think it'd be something that the board should discuss and just kind of see if we can maybe get an explanation or a presentation on how that review process goes about, because I wasn't aware that those policies change or can be changed by the company that has been contracted to write the policy. It sounds like the department has some say or approval of it. I don't know how far up that goes, but I'd be interested in hearing more about that, possibly at a later meeting, potentially.
Clarification, when you're talking about the last meeting, was that in reference to the policy with reference to completing the ARC and it still being in that policy in 2020?
Yes.
And the same policy that existed now?
The drive stun was not allowed, I think, in 2020, and then it was changed to allow it in 2020. I don't know when it was changed, but the
It wasn't-
current one doesn't change. It has changed.
Nope, the drive stun to complete the circuit was, and still is, and always has been allowed, and that's the policy that I sent you. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about that same policy change procedures. Yes, there are certain things that change, and they're based on best practice.
I'll share what I had, because I had downloaded it off the website, which I don't think it's currently available on the new website, the policy, but we can compare notes. But I'd be interested in hearing how the changes that are made go through whatever process it goes through.
So I understand you have questions about the dry stun. In this very video, a dry stun follow through would have been appropriate because he heard that he didn't have a good connection. So the follow through, the dry stun follow through, is taking the head of the taser, the X2,
Right, and connecting it right to the body.
So a drive stun is just pressing the taser into someone's body. That's a drive stun.
Right.
Right? That's not in policy. That is against our policy. But if you have one probe connected and you need to complete the circuit, completing the circuit is getting that second connection to get the neuromuscular incapacitation. That's how we get an effective hit, because you need 2 points of contact.
Right.
And instead of sending another probe or pulling the trigger twice, you take the head of the taser to a different location of the body to complete that circuit. That's what's in policy, which is still in policy.
Right. I don't have the policy I had in front of me, but again, that's why I think
Understood.
discussing the changes, or at least it appeared to me that changes were made. I don't think there's any disagreement about that the policy does change, but how that process occurs, I think, is something that's germane to this board, especially from what I've seen about the company that we're contracting with. I do have questions about that. But again, that's not for this evening. It's not on the agenda. I understand what you're saying about completing the circuit. That is not what I'm talking about. But again, I understand what you're saying. Also, before we wrap this up, the new board members we can still do the training with Lieutenant. Would it be you that would be doing the training, or
it will be either me or Sergeant Hurley or Detective Panko, but we can definitely set everyone up for training. If someone wants a refresher, you're welcome to as well.
Okay.
right?
I think Jane wanted to say.
Can I just say real quick, just because I would appreciate clarification about a policy, a taser policy, which I notice now has a footer that says draft.
Correct.
I don't know if that is, draft, so we might.
Excuse me, Jane, is your mic on?
It is hard to hear. I mean,
No, sorry.
Oh, there
All
we go.
good.
My fault.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I think
It
30,
does,
that maybe we need the official policy, just to be sure, but I think it's 304.5.
Okay. And I just wanted to say, I do appreciate that we continue to show the taser discharges publicly, because, I mean, they are serious matters, and I know you agree with that, so it's important. I think there's always a benefit when multiple eyes are looking at something. It helps us understand, it helps you see it through our eyes, and helps us see it through your reality, which I think is what this is all about. But I also appreciate when you share data, which Sergeant Cervantes did after our last meeting, which is good to keep in mind. And I'm just looking at, because it was news to me, that during December 2021 and June 2025, there were a total of 23 taser displays, and 4 discharges. In 2024, there were 13 taser displays, but no discharges. So it's just good to be reminded that while we see every discharge, and I'm grateful that that is the policy, and I hope this continues, that they are relatively rare occurrences, and I know you feel the same, so thank you.
Any other comments? Great. All right, Deputy Cervantes, Lieutenant Gardner, thank you again for taking the time. And we look forward to seeing you again in the new year, and happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to the annual report, F3. I know that,
We want to talk about the schedule.
oh, I'm sorry, F2. The schedule, yes, schedule, that was attached. This was discussed at the last meeting in October. I know new people were not here in October, but I know we do need to approve this evening. Does anyone have, the schedule is essentially the same as last year. Every 2 months, we change it in December because of the holidays. It's Wednesday at 5:30. Is that something that works for everyone normally? Obviously, now that we have 6 board members, we have some flexibility with quorum. Outside of it being a definite no for anyone and every Wednesday at 5:30, does anyone have any suggestions or corrections to the?
Works for me.
Okay.
I know of 2 conflicts. At the next meeting, I have to leave at 6:30. I mean, that's just something, and I will be gone April 22nd. So those were known before, but we hadn't finalized it, so.
Well, our quorum is now 4? Okay.
Yeah.
So Peggy, if you're
Yeah.
gone in April, we can still have the meeting, and if you leave late, I think we can still have
Yeah.
the meeting.
Yeah, okay, right, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other
No comment.
issues with scheduling?
Nope.
And we can amend the schedule throughout the year if that's an issue. But let's take a vote on the schedule. I think we can do this by affirmation. I keep using the wrong word. Is that, I keep wanting to say something else, but
You wanted to say
affirmation.
acclamation.
Acclamation.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tom.
acclamation,
My
okay.
vocabulary is in the toilet.
It's,
We'll do it by acclamation. All those in favor of the meeting, or the meeting schedule as attached to the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None opposed, so we will adopt the schedule as attached to the agenda for this evening for 2026. So that would make our next meeting February 25th at 5:30 in this room. Then let's move on to F3, the annual report. I believe that still needs some further review, and that will, that report is for, well, we can wait, I guess, for H, for officer report, if we have questions on that, or do we?
That's not in my officer's report.
Oh, okay.
How long, but I believe our last one was 2019.
Okay, so it's a multi-year report. It is in the shared drive, and it needs to be reviewed, and I am derelict in that duty of doing that, but it will be done.
There's a shell in there, and
There's a shell, right?
just needs you guys' love.
Thank you, Carla. We will,
Is there a way for us to, are we to collaborate on that document, or is it just to view, and how would you like us to share comments, or?
The document is live, so if you have things you want to put in it, you can go ahead and put it right in.
Oh, okay, I might have to, it's probably my own tech problem. I was like, oh, I will put a comment, and it couldn't do it. But I bet I just did it wrong.
In my report, we're going to meet.
Yes.
And then we're going to walk through the portal.
Okay,
And then
fantastic.
we can discuss that and try to figure out how to make it better.
Okay.
Because I'm not as techie. So
Yeah.
if you can't put it in there, it might be my fault.
Yeah, no, we'll figure it out. Just wanted to flag that.
Just a note about the tech, as far as open meeting, the document can't be used as a way to communicate with more than 2 people, so we need to be careful about doing that.
But each person can upload, like, there's a portion for the chair to
Sure.
have his comments. You can put that in there. And then there's numbers, people can look at those numbers and they can put their analysis, or we can have a document that you could send to me. And
Right.
we can put it all together.
Yeah.
And then I would upload it. Or
Yeah, I
would
just
put it all
wanted to caution people about, if you're in the live document,
Don't be in there
don't
together.
use it to message or chat with people, because that would run us afoul of OMA, which I think everyone is, if you haven't already, you'll be taking the primer on that, so.
So would it be better to download the document, make our own copy with our comments, and then upload the document? Because if let's say if I were to provide and I wondered about this before we had a quorum of 4, I thought, oh, even 2 of us cannot get together to work on this together. So as we're trying to collaborate, I do want to be mindful and cognizant of Open Meetings Act. If we need to call a working meeting, in between meetings to possibly work on this document, that might be a practical way to get around, not being able to collaborate directly, but,
I think the two people can have contact, yeah, but it's 3's is not.
What if instead, if we're all working on the same document, rather than responding to comments on the document, we address comments on the document in a meeting? Like if someone makes a comment, rather than clicking reply and responding to the document, then we just discuss the comments that are left here. Or at
In
another
a
meeting.
public meeting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
way.
Yeah, as long as it's at a meeting, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
I think that as long as we're not like having back and forth conversations in the comments of the document, then we're fine. But if you leave a comment, then maybe just know that it's gonna, like, we can talk about it at the meeting.
If I may, I believe I would prefer you guys to work off of what Jane had said, is download the document, do your work on it, and send it to me.
Okay.
Because I believe, Peggy, you did that the last time. Then that way we are sure that no 3 people are in there. And it can't be misconstrued that those 3 people were in there together and talking and all this other stuff. Just download it, add your thoughts. Within that file, there's the data is in there also, so you can look at the data and then make your updates.
Okay.
So, to that point, yes, I did send you my comments. It was about this report, not an earlier report. So will people be responding to the comments I sent to you, or you're keeping all of those comments separate?
Keeping them separate
Gotcha, okay, and then you will merge them or bring them to a public meeting to discuss?
For you guys to,
Okay.
Okay, any other questions about annual report? All right, let's move on to G, new business, G1. So I had this added, there's a draft ordinance for the surveillance technology that's for city council. This is something that's been being worked on for, I think, over a year. I was asked by Alderman Wilkin to help her with drafting this, so just full disclosure on that. But part of it would be potentially having this board conduct some of the oversight of the technology that's being used, at least by the police department. There's discussion about other departments. I don't know if that really falls within our purview of our realm of the ordinance. But setting that aside, I wanted to put this on just so that the board could discuss it, and we don't need to come to any sort of conclusion this evening about it. I think there's still I don't know if there isn't a final draft yet that I'm aware of that's been put forward, and I don't think they're voting on it before the end of the year. But this was, I think, the latest draft that was available. So if people want to look at the draft, you're free to comment to the council about what you think on what the ordinance should include or should not include. But I think this board is pretty primed to have these sort of discussions. We're essentially doing it with tasers already. It is a technology, while it's not surveillance, it's a technology used by the police department that is being applied to the residents of the city. So, it may not be a complete, copy-paste job, but, and what I've said to the council on this before, and I think I've discussed with other members of this board, is that, it may not be appropriate for us to, have the final say in whether or not some sort of surveillance technology gets used, but this can be a forum for us acting on behalf of the general residents, or residents themselves can come and give comment at this board meeting, to just flesh out questions, concerns, other questions about the usages, that can then be hopefully used by council either to review, watch on their own time, or that may facilitate asking questions that they may have on the technology. So that's kind of how I think our board can help. I'm open to hearing other people's comments about it. But that's, again, this was just attached to kind of get the ball rolling on a discussion with the board. Maybe at some point we can take a vote on whether or not we think we should be the board that would oversee this. But again, I'll open it up to anyone who has comments. Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that I did look through that today, and I love the spirit of it, and I personally would be very interested in being involved in that. So that's my input. I think it's very well written, and I like it.
The basis of it is, it's a combination of, I think there was a draft policy, and I know it's been tweaked and things, but it didn't come out of whole cloth from locally. It's been, there are smarter people than a lot of smart people went into putting together the structure, and I know it's been moved around, and it's still in a draft stance, but.
I know there will be further discussion on this, but it seems that the use of surveillance technology via our police force is definitely something that would fall under our purview. And I'm glad you brought it before us. I'm glad we had a chance to review it before the meeting. And I am looking forward to further discussing it and seeing how we can assist and provide oversight in this way.
Sorry to cut you off. I think also something that is really important to, offer sort of like that bridge to the community to talk about and have an input in as well,
Yeah, well, as much as we can speak for the residents, we would appreciate any comment, especially if they're willing to come to our meetings and give comment, or that can be done electronically as well. But with any sort of city function, more sunshine and more exposure as to what's being done, and something that can be reviewed later, I think is beneficial. So, especially when it comes to this type of technology, which seems to be expanding rapidly, faster than any of us can comprehend, which I think is all the more reason for us to at least give comment, if nothing else. But
and in the spirit of Tony, of you saying disclosure, I did pass this through to the state ACLU for review. Their lawyers reviewed it and made some comments early on as my role in the local steering committee. And I fully support it. I think it's really practical to have this kind of measure. It is, not dictating really anything. It's just a kind of awareness of what's going on, and as these technologies rapidly expand. I also think the extension to our board is extremely common sense. I think if I understand correctly, there's two requests. One is that if people complain about surveillance technology used by the police, that we would review those complaints in the normal manner. I don't think that is any addition to what we already do, so I don't think that really is in the least bit controversial, because we're already doing that and would do that. The other piece of it is just to review that annual report. So the police department would write an annual report about how they use surveillance technology, what kinds of technology they have, and we would review it and give some basic comments. So I would say that that seems well within our capacity and well within what the board is doing, especially with regard to our charter to, foster community relationships with the police department and dialogue and all of that. So I would say that it seems as though we're kind of all a bit on the same page, and we've all had a chance to review this. In the interest of time, since we only meet, it seems like every few months, is there a motion that that we would want to vote on right now?
I haven't commented yet, and I think everything,
Yes.
I agree mostly with everything people have said, although, technically, not even technically, the CPRB does not respond to complaints, we respond to appeals. So the ordinance would have to be changed, and
I guess
we've been
it
trying,
says
yeah.
complaints within chapter blah, 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 which then explains that whole, within our ordinance.
Right,
So,
right. But
yeah.
it would require an ordinance change, which we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and maybe this would push the needle a little bit and make it clear that this is another area under our purview, and that we would be reviewing complaints, not appeals of complaints, because we don't review complaints right now. We just review the appeals that may arise out of a response to a complaint. While that seems nitpicky, it really is quite different.
Well, it's semantic, but I guess my reading of both pieces of legislation is that we review the complaints, but we can't talk about them in a public meeting. We don't have a hearing about them, but we review them. But in the same way that if someone complained about surveillance technology, we would review it, but we won't be able to talk about it unless there was a complaint, at which point we would in the normal way.
Yeah.
Unless, Carla, if maybe you could clarify if that's how it's interpreted.
I was just going to give a little caution and pause, because I believe there's two questions on the that are currently out there. Is the policy going to be just police, or is it going to be the whole city? And so I'm thinking it would be premature to take a vote to support if we don't know what the actual final draft is going to be, because it will definitely change any work that you guys have to do, because if it's the whole city, then that's a different conversation. If it's the police, then that's in the vein that you're talking about. And then there's also the caution of the magnitude of what is being asked of the board, because if you read the ordinance, there are a lot of things in the ordinance that need to be completed, and it's adding an additional workload to the board. So I'm just saying, as caution, cautiously walk through that, but I would definitely wait to see what this ordinance is going to impact, which departments it's going to impact.
May I try a motion based on your friendly amendments?
You may not be able to do that
I don't,
because it's
I don't
not
think it's on
posted.
it's not posted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Could I make a suggestion for discussion?
That would
And
be,
I guess, we can't vote on anything about this in any case, because.
you'd want to have that
Yeah,
add
it's-
on in your agenda
But
for
it's,
next time.
is it
Yeah.
on the agenda, draft ordinance on surveillance technology?
New business.
It was, I put this on here just to start a discussion. I didn't have an
Okay.
intention of taking a vote because, one, we have new members, and this was just added recently, so I don't think there's any issue in waiting until at least February because one, we don't have a final draft, and two, I think, you know, I think giving people some time to look at it is more appropriate
No,
here.
that's fair. I just feel like it's, at this point, is there value in providing input to inform that final draft in the sense of like, you know, the CPRB, you know, like, is comfortable continuing in their role of reviewing complaints per our policy, and that extends to the surveillance complaints in the same manner that we've always done. And we feel that we do have capacity to review a report as pertains to the police department, you know, an annual report, and provide a commentary, you know. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's certainly, we are all in a position to speak independently to the council, and I think that would maybe is the most straightforward way to do it.
Like a pulse reading. We've done that sometimes before, when we said, you know, just what's the pulse of the, you know, it's not an official vote, it's not
Right.
an emotion, it's just I mean, I think I remember we did that when we were asking you to step in after Ricardo went down. We
Yeah,
said,
that's
what's the
true.
pulse of the,
I mean, I think we've got a pretty good
Yeah,
pulse
pulse.
of what's going on. I think as far as the discussion about it being just complaints or policy, I think, you know, being able to review the policy is that, I think we're kind of stepping outside of what we normally do with complaints, because we only review someone who has complained and then not been satisfied with the response from the department, and then they appeal to us. So we're kind of later in the process, whereas at least the draft ordinance is written in a way that we get an opportunity to discuss the policy broadly. We're not waiting for someone to have been subjected to the technology and had a disagreement with it, and then wait for them to further appeal it. So, and I understand Carla's point that, you know, that may be taking on additional work for the board. I think most of these reports, though, are being put together by the department as opposed to us. Because we wouldn't.
You're not doing that, but you are, this board would be responsible for reviewing them, providing recommendations before those reports could move forward to the council.
Right.
And so my caution was, it's adding workload for you guys, and it has to be timely workload.
and we don't have a good record of doing these things. And I'm not just talking about this, I mean, in other reports too, there are other reports that we haven't in a few short years.
When is this going to be going to the city council?
Well, it was, I don't know what posture it's at now. It was up for discussion
They are
last.
still discussing
Yeah.
it and making changes and taking comments and then updating it. There is not a final draft.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay,
there's,
so because from our meeting schedule, it looks like our next meeting is in January.
February.
February, oh.
Yeah,
End of February,
end of
25th.
February, yeah.
25th, okay.
So they may have, they just, hopefully, because a couple weeks ago, I watched and they seemed relatively close.
Yeah.
They were talking about pretty minor things, so I'm assuming that they'll get it done.
I don't think they intend to bring it up again until after the first of the year.
So, but how often did the city, sorry for my ignorance on
That's
this,
all right.
how often do the city council meet?
Every week.
Every
They
week.
meet weekly, they have a council meeting 1 week, and then they have committee of the whole, where they bring things to the council, and then the council votes to move them to the committee of the whole, and then the council votes to move it to the full council meeting, and then
Yeah.
that's where it's either adopted or not.
Yeah, so certainly, even if they do bring it up, you know, start of next year, they're not going to be finalizing anything at that point. Right? So,
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot like baseball. It can go, it can go on. It can take a long time. Innings can last forever, or sometimes they're very short. So, yeah, I guess, you know, trying to guess when this thing passes.
yeah.
I
Mostly,
did-
I'm just trying to see
yeah.
if there's any, like, immediate urgency for us to,
I mean, without taking a vote, I guess, this evening, I think we're on at least the same page, if not the same chapter of where we're at with reviewing. It seems, yeah, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but it seems like we're all willing to take on some sort of role in this ordinance. If
Right.
the council is concerned about that being an issue, I don't, I think they,
So is this something we need to express back to the council? Do we, as the board, need to make a statement saying, this is what we would like to do, or this is what we'd like our role to be? Or we would like to have a role in this because we see the opportunity for misinformation and misuse in these kinds of technologies, and we want to make sure that there is a bridge to the public, that we as a board are providing that oversight. Where do we go from here? Do we take a step forward and make a comment to the board, to the city council, or do we just put it in our minutes?
You are welcome to do that.
you can do that as an
You can do it as
individual.
an
That's,
individual.
you can show up at a city meeting and do that. I did that 2 weeks ago. I mean, the reason I wanted to put it on here was so that it wasn't just coming from one individual, so that the board could have their, could say their piece at a meeting, and so that it was heard by the public and maybe council if they listen, to just kind of get a gauge of where we were at with this. We could potentially put something, we could set a vote in February on something, but I mean, if it's general that we want to do something,
What if we agree to, sort of like, obviously I haven't had a lot of time to review the document. I did look through it, but, to be quite honest with you, some of the language is a little bit, I have to read it really early in the day, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so what if we all agree to say that we're going to, dive into it and really look into it? We have a meeting in February, and then at that time, we can talk about it again. And if we all agree that we want to make some sort of statement, I think that we maybe could, agree to, I don't know if we can just go there. If we're not, we're in a public space, we can all go there, right? And then we can say, hey, we're willing to, or interested in doing this.
I mean, you can't go to the city council as an individual and say, I'm speaking for the CPRB. That's the
Right.
one thing. And I guess,
That's why I was
Yeah.
suggesting that we dive into it and then first at our meeting in February, discuss again. And sort of like, come to an agreement on what we would be willing to do. And then, the next time that there is a city council meeting, we would all agree to go there and speak together as the board.
or provide a statement, right. And the reason we can't do that now is because it wasn't noticed that we were going to take a vote. But I think providing the input is valuable. One thing you
Yes, I'm
did.
not ready to make a vote on it.
Yeah, maybe it's right. It is just, I don't know if everyone got the letter from the city attorney weighing okay, I mean, I don't know if that was I don't think it was part of the packet that was in our packet. I think
were
I got that
comments.
Ray
elsewhere.
sent it to us.
Who did?
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yeah, did she send it to everybody?
I believe so.
Okay, so you got that too.
I think
Okay,
a
because
blind
that's,
copy does.
yeah.
yeah, okay, because that seems an important piece to look at too. We didn't talk about that at all, but.
Is that a matter for discussion? Do people have comments?
I don't know if discussing those comments in public should be done.
Okay.
I think maybe if maybe we can set in February a statement that the board can vote on, maybe different levels of participation. I mean, hearing complaints and reviewing policy, I think, are the two big issues, or at least things that we would do. Again, that's kind of where I see the split. I don't know if there's anything else that people have a opinion on as far as taking on additional work. Because again, I think most of this is going to be presented to us for review and then a vote out to the council. At least it sounds like that's the structure currently. And I don't know if that's going to be the end. I'm not sure if the council's gonna wait for things to come out of our committee,
As
our board.
written,
As written.
currently as written, and if it's passed in current,
Yes, then it would be,
it would be required to wait.
right.
Yeah.
I think that may, you know, I think we would fill our last seat if that was the case. And again, you know, having this board do more meaningful things, I don't think is a bad thing. You know, it may involve more time commitment. But again, I think that's just something to think about before February. Let's plan to have this on the agenda for February to vote, to have some statement maybe that we can just send to the council as opposed to trying to organize everyone showing up. I think that might be
Yeah.
more of a problem than it.
Yeah.
A statement would be, yeah.
I think so. What I would just suggest is there are things that are outlined in the ordinance that
Right.
the board is required to do now.
We can just
Look at those.
line item those.
And maybe think about, is there something that the council could relieve the board from doing if you're going to take on extra? Because there's a lot of things in there that we haven't been doing, that we should be doing. And so I wanted to make sure that we all know that
Right.
before taking on additional duties.
I think that's good. I mean, and some things we've wanted to change the ordinance, you know, that we've all agreed to.
That's true.
But I do think it will require an ordinance change because there's no mention, you have to at least mention that this is another area of our purview. You know,
Oh, in our ordinance, they
Yeah.
should mention this other law.
right, right. I mean, that this is part of the duties is that we, if in fact it becomes part of our duties is to, you know, review
Well, then maybe,
surveillance.
yeah, maybe it is a moment to talk about some of the changes that, you
Right.
know, have been.
Proposed and others that maybe we haven't even thought about.
And there's been a lot over the years that have come up that it may be a great time to start looking at that.
Okay, so February.
If we're going to talk about bringing something, and this is, I'm sorry for my ignorance, something to vote on February 25th, like a statement, would we need to notice that statement? Like, would we need to sort of write something and then provide it ahead of time to Tom, for Tom to include in the packet? And
That would be appropriate. Even the basic idea that you're
Yeah,
going to do
'cause-
something at the meeting could be put in the agenda, and that would be effective and appropriate, and would comply with the need that has to happen for noticing the public. If you want to go further than that, to share that information with each other, we can also send that out in your packet beforehand.
because then we could say, oh, we're going to amend it this way or that way. Is there anyone that wants to take a stab at writing that?
So you're talking about the actual content of a statement. Oh, and I thought you were just saying that we will be developing a
Oh, I
statement
see.
in the agenda. I think,
Yeah, maybe it's not necessary.
well, yeah, I guess I thought that statement would arise out of more detailed discussion once some people felt like they had,
Yes. No,
I
that's
think that
fine.
we
I
just-
wasn't sure
Yeah.
if we needed to have it written down before we could vote on it.
right, I think he just wants to make sure the public knows that we will be developing a statement, you
Got
know,
it. Okay.
about our position.
Sorry to misunderstand.
No, it's hard to, all this agenda stuff is.
If an individual member is going to propose a specific policy change, and you'd like the others to review that, we can send that out in your packet in advance, and that would be part of your
That's true.
preparation.
That's true. If any
But
member
this-
wanted to say, I propose this, sometimes it's easier to react to something than to pull something out of thin air.
Yeah.
That's
'cause
true.
You're not looking at something specific.
Yep, yeah.
That way, the other members could come to the meeting and move to accept that or amend it at the same time. And it would be noticed to the public in advance that
Yeah.
something was going to happen that was significant.
We
And
can,
I think we did that before.
yeah, I
with
think
the
we've done it before, and it doesn't have to be one person. If you want to submit your own, we
That's
can
true.
do that.
Multiple members could submit a statement,
And
you
that,
know.
I mean, if those are,
Yeah, well,
they can both be adopted, we can merge them, we can amend them. The issue is notice, just getting it out there. So that's the main concern, I think, with following procedure in OMA, is doing that. You know, we're not constrained by them if we want to change them. And I think people will understand what we're discussing. So,
And when you've got several different things you're looking at, the old ordinance, the changes that might happen, those are all kinds of things you can bring up for discussion. But like Peggy said, there may be a lot of discussion that needs to go into effect
yeah.
for everybody to get their viewpoint in for several meetings, perhaps.
yeah, again, I think, you know, the reason I asked to have it added or put it on was just to discuss this ordinance and whether or not the board was comfortable taking that on. In some capacity, again, we can kind of fine tune what we want to say. It can be very general. We don't necessarily have to get into the weeds about, well, I don't want to hear complaints. I want to only hear do policy. Like, the council's going to make that decision for us, whether we want to or don't want to do something. So,
It is helpful to let them know what we want.
Sure. I don't know how all the sausage is made, but, we get to, offer our inputs. So let's, if you want to submit something for the meeting, submit it to Tom or Carla, and then that can be circulated, and then we can have a discussion on that. We don't have a TASER review that.
We may.
We may, okay.
Sorry about that. We may have another TASER, because I
Okay.
believe there's a couple of them, they're working on getting them prepared. So if one is prepared, we will have one.
Okay.
But I will let the board know if they're going to present, and then I will get that information to you, so you
Okay.
can review it at earlier than the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, if you'd like to draft a statement, please do so, feel free. And then we will plan on having some sort of discussion and a vote on a statement in February regarding this. And hopefully it's not moot by that time if the ordinance is already passed, but we'll see. Any other discussion on G1? Okay, let's move to H, Officers Report. Carla?
Okay. For the officers' report for December 17, 2025. For citizen complaints, there were 5 active complaints against UPD sworn officers. 1 complaint received suspension due to a pending court case. 2 complaints closed due to the expiration of filing time limits. 1 complaint alleging falsifying statements and lying by an officer remains open. And 1 other complaint remains open because the investigator requested an extension of time to continue the review. There were no FOIA requests submitted since the last meeting. And for office activity, I attended the NAACP Freedom Fund event on Saturday, October 25th, along with staff and members of the Urbana Police Department. Chief Boone received special recognition for his commitment and tireless work with community engagement and the depth of experience he has brought to the city of Urbana. I also volunteered for the Salvation Army Battle of the Badge on Monday, December 15. You remember that day?
Yes, it was bad weather.
The event was from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I volunteered for the 10 a.m. to noon shift, ringing the bells for the Red Pail at the Urbana Walmart. And D.C. Mikulik, Deputy Chief Mikulik, was my ringing partner. And we faced frigid temperatures on Monday and lasted just a little over an hour before we couldn't take it any longer. I couldn't feel my feet. Literally, I was walking on my heels because I could not feel the front of my feet. I wore the wrong shoes. However, we did have several people donate, and I think they thanked us for braving the cold weather, and I think they gave because we were out there going. So I think they felt sorry for us, and they were donating, and so we believe it was a success, even though we couldn't hang. But other members of, I believe, UPD took over different shifts throughout the evening. I don't have a final report on how much they actually did, but I did my part. Board member Jane McClintock and I meet after the holiday break to review the portal used by CPRB, and she has volunteered to assist in getting and keeping the portal information up to date.
Yay, Jane.
So we're going to walk through that and hopefully get everything all up to date. She's been keeping me on my toes for the last
Good.
3 days.
Thank you.
Been getting lost, so I
Yeah.
appreciate
No,
I have
it.
a
no, no,
question.
no.
I'm, show me where. And
Yeah.
so I've been getting in there. I'm like, oh, I need to upload that. Oh, I need to upload that. So thank you for that
That's
because
been
it keeps
really
me on my
helpful.
toes. And sometimes I don't remember everything. So thank you for that.
No, happy to help.
I would like to formally invite everyone to the MLK Celebration event on Sunday, January 18, 2026 at 5 p.m. at the Krannert Center of Performing Arts in the Follinger Hall. This is a free event. Doors open at 4 p.m. The community choir will begin singing at 4:30 p.m. And this is a great opportunity to meet members of the community, different members of the community, and that is the end of my report. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question, for MLK, do we have any flyers or anything that we could?
Yes, there will be social media flyers and some things. I will share those once that we get them, because I asked for those today. They sent them to me. We did some updates, and she said the updates should be by tomorrow or Friday. As soon as I get them, I'll share them with everyone.
Cool, well, we got plenty of time for the 18th, so.
Yeah.
Awesome, well, I'll put it
And
on my calendar.
just for information, I'm a part of the MLK Advocacy for Justice Committee.
Good.
I'm the representative for the city. They have city membership, and in different organizations, I believe the colleges, they all have a representative on that committee, and I'm the representative for Urbana.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Carla. So no pending appeals, correct? I didn't,
No, there are no pending
okay.
appeals.
I thought I didn't hear, I just wanted to clarify.
What I'm going to start doing is I'll start walking through those each meeting, where you'll have updates on complaints, formalized on appeals, FOIAs, and then office activity, depending on if we have information for them.
Okay. Any other comments on the officer's report? Okay. We'll move to I, the announcements. The board has only one vacancy.
Okay.
So-
Lovely, huh?
Yeah. We're expanding rapidly.
Really good.
Yeah, which is great for making quorum, and for, being flexible with people's schedules if need be, so. But there is one vacancy, so if there's anyone listening who would like to apply, that is done through the website, through the city website, and that would be reviewed by the mayor's office. The next meeting, as approved this evening, is February 25th, Wednesday, at 5:30 here in council's chambers. And with that, I'd take a motion to adjourn, unless there's any comments.
I
before.
just wanted to add, I've been going to the public sessions of the Alternative Response Task Force, which is being conducted by the Consultants LEAP Law Enforcement Action Partnership with the city of Urbana. And at these meetings, I'm not one of the stakeholders, I'm just in the public observing the meeting. But the consultants have been sharing details from other communities, notably Evanston, Durham, and Dayton, Ohio, who have implemented community responder models, where people in the community assist the police in areas where they have more expertise, or maybe that outcomes would be better.
Or they know them.
Or maybe perhaps they know them, but social workers or mental health specialists. And I find that the meetings have been, incredibly helpful. There's 20 to 25 people on the task force who represent all the expected sort of stakeholders in the community who would be impacted by a community responder model. And I have to say, I'm encouraged by the pace of progress, which seems to be developing over just these two meetings. There's a third meeting that, anyone's invited to on January 29th. They're held at IMC, the Independent Media Center, from 3:30 to 5. We're there to observe, we're not there to participate, but you get lots of good information, not only about other communities and how they implemented these programs, which are all quite different from each other. Anyway, so that's been an encouraging thing, yep. So, yep.
Thanks, Peggy. Any other comments? Anything on anyone's mind? Okay, well, I'd like to thank the new members for being here, the old members for being here, the staff. I think hopefully next year we'll have even more to do. We have a lot to discuss. Happy holidays, everyone, regardless of what holiday you celebrate. And we'll see you all in the new year, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
And I think we got to vote this one out with a roll call.
Voice vote.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Yeah, we did.
Pass off, hand off. Well, that
We
works
had-
okay.
Well, piano.